topic will be, for our hot topics, we're going to go ahead and delve into our summary of Leave the World Behind, which is being shown right now on Netflix. But before I get started, I do want to show you the newspaper, Black Life Texas, and this week's primary article is about Kwanzaa. You can get the paper online at blacklifetexas.com, or if you're in the San Antonio area, the papers can be found at gyms, some HEBs, but the best place to go is to either come to the studio or to go to blacklifetexas.com. So Leave the World Behind. Leave the World Behind. This is a movie that Michelle and Barack Obama sponsored. And it's an interesting movie. I watched it twice because there were some little nuggets in the movie that I did forget or I didn't pay attention to. But there's a lot in that movie to where can be a very, very hearty conversation. You saw the movie?
I saw the movie.
Did you see the movie?
I saw the movie.
How many times did you see the movie?
I think twice. The third time, I fell asleep on it, but I watched it twice.
So,
And maybe I needed to watch it twice because I still don't understand it.
I'll just go ahead and give a quick summary. This is where they say that, the SHTF situation, where the United States is under siege, under a cyber attack, to where the internet system is down, the phone system is down. You see oil tankers really coming up onto beaches because they don't have their navigation system working, planes falling out of the air. Of course, I don't know how many times New York has been blown up, burned up, but it's burning up. There's a lot of strange things happening in the movie. And because a Black family is one of the protagonists in the movie, the father and his daughter, and then you have a white couple and their family.
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts, real quick, that was an interesting role for her because she plays the subdued Karen, as far as I'm concerned, in this movie. But it's one of those type of movies to where a whole lot of questions came to my mind as a resident in the United States. Am I prepared for a cyber attack? I think that in Texas, we had our wake-up call about 2 years ago when the grid, got all, shut down, and we were dealing with really a super cold winter and dealing with just trying to figure out how to survive that. So on a larger scale, have we become highly dependent on social media? Have we become highly dependent on just technology where if one of these attacks occur, can we survive? So I'm looking at you for a reason.
Me? No, because when the Texas grid went down, we were not prepared. And so I can tell you right now, we were running around looking like refugees trying to find firewood. So because all the stores were out of firewood, and at the time we didn't have a generator, and it was and the power was out. We were freezing, and it was. So I can tell you right there. Back then, I was not prepared for that when the grid went down, and so we, like I say, there was no internet, no TVs, no nothing, and we were just all freezing. So not prepared at all. So and that was just that was a few days. I can imagine if it goes down permanently, I would be in trouble. Chris,
I was in pretty good shape except for nighttime. Okay, I didn't have a nighttime. I didn't have a way. We have solar panels, so I didn't have a way to capture the electricity. So at night, okay, when there was no sun out, that's when we had problems.
Oh, okay.
And so we wanted to, it was difficult to sleep because it was very cold. And I can remember going to a hotel, and the regular hotel price was like maybe $125 a night or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And they jacked it up to like $250, or whatever.
I would have still took that. No, because we went looking for a hotel, right? And we it was a few of them that still didn't have power.
Or water.
So we did end up finding one and that had power, and it was one of those ones where the family doesn't really stay in. So I'm trying to remember if we actually did say stay there, or we did say forget this. But I don't remember. But it wasn't one of the ones where a family would go and stay in.
Well, let's get back to the movie. I want to ask you, Dr. Sharon. I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but the end of the movie.
The end of the movie was interesting. You had this little girl who found one of these ultra sophisticated doomsday
Rooms.
Yeah, bunker. Uh-huh.
bunkers. And she's eating up a storm over there, right? and her mother is outside calling her
Looking
name.
for her.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there watching Friends. So the question becomes, in a situation like that, what is your dedication to other people?
Right.
Now, the big thing is because there was a lot of racism in that movie. I don't know if you paid attention to
Oh,
it,
yeah.
especially Julia
And the black guy.
Roberts. I mean, they're staying at his house, but they're wanting him to show all of his paperwork showing that who he is. But the other thing that caught my attention was, and I had to go back and look at it the second go around to see it, were all of the quiet messaging about black folks in this movie. The movie takes place in New York.
New York.
But there was a sign there on the street pointing to Fort Mose. Fort Mose is down in Florida. And what happened with Fort Mose was that some enslaved people escaped the plantations in North Carolina and sought refuge at this fort, right? And there was a militia down there, black militia down there, that protected the fort until they got into a battle and they finally escaped and went on down to Cuba. The other thing was the oil tanker that came up on the ship, on the beach.
On the beach, yeah.
But the name of the ship was White Lion. The White Lion, if you've read the 1619 book, was the name of the ship that brought over the first black, slaves. The White Lion.
Wow.
Yeah. And the beach that they were on, the beach that they went to was Charleston Beach. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And then the other thing was, there was a scene in the movie where they're in the car, and of course 1619 pops up over and over and over
as
again.
the radio station.
Right. And again, you go back to the White Lion. This happened in 1619.
Right.
Then the other thing that caught my attention was the girl, the Ruth, who was the black daughter, had 96 tattooed on her
Right.
arm.
What's that mean?
So of course I figured that's the last two numbers of a year. So I started looking at 1696, nothing. 1796, nothing. Here it is, 1896. That's when Plessy versus Ferguson was argued, where basically the Supreme Court says nothing wrong with segregation,
Right.
as long as everything is separate but equal.
Right.
But the problem was, interesting what in the movie, is that was their house and they're sleeping in the basement of the house.
Of their own
So
house.
I was wondering, when I was watching this movie, why they so, got this, got us on their mind so much when this is definitely a survival piece,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a survival movie.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can think was, even in these apocalyptic type movies,
Mm-hmm.
is that Black folks have to hold their own.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl did tell her daddy, Daddy, if it goes down, don't trust white folks.
Right. Right.
And you know the conservatives had they covered that part of the movie, and they were attacking Barack and Michelle for that part in the movie where they were saying don't touch white folks. There was a big issue about that in the conservative circles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Well, I'm glad, Sharon. Really, you analyzed it very well, because I ain't getting my phone out or no book to do all the research that you did. So that's good, because I really did not understand any of it, and I probably understand it more having talked to you or you to explain it than I didn't watch it twice. Okay.
Well, you know, I guess the big question I'm going to throw out here to the community is, how prepared are you
Mm-hmm.
when the HFTF occurs?
Not prepared at all.
You know, and that was really interesting. The Black man in the family whose house that this white family stayed at, you knew that this man had money. He had this apartment in New York that was on the 40th floor or 14th floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had this beautiful home out by the lake also that he Airbnb'd. Plus, because he was the right Black man, he was around certain white men who gave him information that, for whatever reason, he knew this information, but there wasn't more provisions at his house. In the case of what they told him went down, because the house with the big bunker, them white folks left. I mean, they weren't anywhere in the
Right.
in the city.
Went. Yeah.
They
But-
just left.
But who played the handyman? The guy that went to the house and told him about the bunker.
Keith
Was it Kevin Bacon?
Kevin Bacon was
mhm.
Okay.
Kevin Bacon was
Oh, because he told
he was
him,
prepared.
yeah, I got my gun, and you need to get going.
Yeah.
But what I didn't understand about that whole statement was this: he knew about this bunker.
Right.
Why wasn't he over there?
Right. So, but maybe he had his own
Right.
preparedness, because he was the guy who did the construction
Right.
on the
Right.
black guy's house.
Right.
Right. So he had those construction abilities.
Right.
So there's
And
no
he
telling
helped build the bunker.
There's no telling what he had in his own house.
Right. Right. Because he said you ain't coming in.
But the thing is that we had a dress rehearsal 2 years ago here in Texas again when we had that ice storm.
Yep.
That should have signaled a need. If you hadn't started prepping, you need to start prepping. You know. And
Well, let me ask this question.
Mhm.
If you are prepping, what would be the first thing that you would want to do or have?
A gun. That's because if I got the right number of guns and the right number of folks, I'm gonna be all right. Because whoever prep, I'm going to get their stuff that they prep. You know?
Okay.
for me, is that water source,
The water source.
water source, and medicine. And so now that I have access now through Medicare, you got that section to where you can just order up a lot of free stuff to include medicine. I have a lot of that already ordered. And the water source was important because I have a huge pool at the house, indoor pool. And I kept walking past the pool, during the time. And then it dawned on me, this is a source I can use to flush the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But having water, you're going to need water.
Mhm.
You're going to need water. And so you start buying bottles and bottles and bottles and bottles of water. The other thing that I was blessed to have, I have not only two gas grills, I have a traditional grill, and I already had the gas, the tools to work on the traditional grill as well, to where I had all the information, had that already down pat. But I guess the other thing is that generator.
Yep.
That's the one thing I don't have that's on my to-do list for my birthday is to go ahead and get that generator or two.
So let me ask this question. In the movie, the one thing I was curious about, out of everything that was either going down or didn't work, the one thing that did work was their electricity.
It kept coming on and off, on and off, and on and off. So, I mean, I would think that, probably the grid was, intermittent. So, and a lot of that is probably automated, where the grid is self-repairing, and you know what I mean? As far as the main power source, the main power plant, it might have been automated and self-repairing and stuff. So
I'm just looking at the movie. They needed the lights.
yeah. But no, and then to go with what Doc says, you can order MREs, boxes and boxes of MREs, and store those. Those are very stable. It's the packs.
Yeah.
You can order as many boxes and boxes. You can order purification tablets. You can order purification bottles that you run water through that filter
Right.
it. They have even purification straws where you could just put the straw in a direct water source and it purifies it as you drink it.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff out there for as far as prep and prepping materials that you can order that are out there. There's just stuff that automatically you strike, it starts fires. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. They're very well prepared. So the other striking part of the movie was the pamphlets were on this side of the United States. The pamphlets were they were in
Korean.
I thought
Korean and this.
I think they were Islamic writings, right? So and then in China, on the West Coast, they were from China or Korea, and so the guy says everybody's teamed up on us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is the other thing.
Right.
I think that was a message
Right.
too. You know what I mean? And a lesson, like, hey, you know what? We need to get our stuff together. 'Cause,
Right.
so we made a whole lot of enemies out
Right.
there, and there's some people who are teaming up against us. And so you can see that, and you can see some of the organizations that are forming around the globe, like BRICS is one of them, where China's leading it, and you have all these other, you know what I mean, different folks that are joining these organizations that are trying to, people are just tired of America's crap.
This was a very academic type of movie. It was above my pay grade, but
I tell you what, let me scare some folks. So some of the stuff that they were using, right? The microwave weapons and all that kind of stuff. So they have those right now in existence. So they use them for crowd control, where the microwave weapons can.
oh, you talking about the ear thing?
They have sonic.
Yeah.
They have sonic weapons
Okay.
that they also use for crowd control. They have microwave weapons right now that they use for crowd control. They have, and these have been around for decades and decades. They have bombs that will take out the technology and leave the people.
What?
Yeah, they're basically what they call EMP devices. They fry the electronics.
Okay.
That's in existence right now. Satellite-based weapons they've been around for decades. They have something, we call them rods from God. So basically they're titanium rods that are in space that strike with the force of a nuclear device without the fallout.
Okay, I want you to stop just a minute. You said we call him. Who the hell is we?
So they're called rods from God.
I think we caught him, Dr. Sharon. I think he got some group that he's a part of.
So, but no, a lot of these weapons are already in existence. So don't think that this show was that far off. So
Yeah, because the satellite telephone he got and pulled out. You remember that?
So, it even gets down to just the basics. So, of course, I have a Garmin watch, for my training, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's dependent on me plugging it in every day to make sure I have, the juice. And of course, it's tied into the internet as well. So what about the old Timex watches? Does anybody have a regular watch that, it just keeps ticking,
I have
we
one.
need to
I
have
a
one
couple
of
of
those watches, just for, if anything, to know what time it is.
Yeah. But I don't think time would even matter.
No,
But,
you need a radio.
What I'm saying, what I'm saying is that everything we have is dependent on is technology or dependent, and so we need a regular watch. You need a regular alarm clock.
Shortwave radio.
Shortwave radio. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, you need a whole basket full plus of batteries. You know, but this whole thing really showed us, in terms of a Black community, even of all the information we're sharing, what are we doing with this information to prepare us for another situation to where that what happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago, could last longer, into a month or 2 months long. So how prepared are you?
I ain't prepared.
Before we end our show today, we also want to say thank you to Linnell Taylor, who is our producer for today, as well as Carl Booker, who has helped produce our shows. And with that being said, put your comments and likes on the show. How are you preparing? I'd like to see your comments there as well. And with that being said,
All together now, y'all.
okay.
Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa.
And we miss you, Fred.
We miss you, Fred. And with that would be said, thank you to listening to Contemporary Black Voices and Hot Topics. See you next week. What?
Yeah.
But
Well, Adele was the one that said, hey, together.
that movie was scary.
A lot of that stuff that they're talking about is already in existence. It is. So they are, yeah. That
Well,
movie was
I
so
understand it more after having this discussion.
Yeah, the SHTF.